our What's New in Answers in Viva webinar. As we're very excited to share with you what we have coming up, share a bit of the story of our journey over the past 12, 13 months. And I'm really excited to be joined by a number of my colleagues to present to you today. We've got a mix of engineering, data science, and product. Erin, RJ, Pooja, and Sid, and of course myself as well. And what I'll ask my colleagues to do is give them do an introduction as they come to their section. What we're going to cover today, as I said, is I'm going to kick off with a kind of introduction. For those of you who maybe don't know quite what Answers in Viva is, Erin's going to go into a bit of detail about what is Answers in Viva and where we've been taking the product over the past 12, 13 months. RJ is going to do a deep dive and a demo of Answers in Communities. And then Pooja is going to jump in and show you how we've created a capability for you to upload or import content into Answers as well. We'll also share where we're going with bringing Answers into the flow of work. So Answers is a part of Viva Engage, but where else are we going to bring the content so you can find that crucial piece of information that you need with whichever Microsoft 360 tool you may be in at that time. And then Erin's going to share a bit about where we're headed, particularly around Copilot. And then we will stop in each section for your questions, but then we'll collect the rest of them and hopefully have a good time at the end to go through them. I'll just ask, for those of you who can, it seemed when we ran the webinar this morning, it wasn't everyone, but if you see the Q&A option up at the top, if you could choose that to ask your questions, it does mean then we can see them afterwards. Sid, awesome. Thank you for putting the instructions in the chat there. If you can't see them, yes, add them in the chat, but we know that Viva Engage-based webinars, the crowd can get pretty chatty amongst yourselves as well, and we want to give space to that and not lose anyone's question. Now, just a bit of starting information. Where does Answers in Viva sit when we come to talk about licensing? Well, Answers is part of the extended capabilities of Viva Engage that you find in the Microsoft Viva Suite licenses or the communications and communities licenses. So that does mean that as well as your Microsoft 365, whether you've got E3, E5, or F licenses, you do need Viva Suite or CNC, as we call it, licenses on top of those in order to use Answers in Viva. And again, that goes with everything else Viva Engage, Leadership Corner, AMAs, Advanced Analytics, and those other capabilities that we introduced earlier last year. And maybe for those of you who aren't 100% familiar, what is Viva Engage, which is where Answers sits? Viva Engage, our mission has always been and continues to be to our goal to be the best, most widely used employee communications platform in the world. And that goes for everything from leaders to empower leaders and, of course, those hardworking corporate communicators that sit behind the great leaders to reach and engage employees at scale, share vision, shape culture, and of course, spark action with things like Leadership Corner, with announcements in Storyline, with campaigns and Ask Me Anything. And of course, the goodness that has come always through the product, which is the ability to create communities that support connection at work, whether it's onboarding, job roles, shared services, employee resource groups. And we'll be sharing what Answers is bringing to communities a little bit later. And as always, whether it's with Storyline or in communities, allowing people to connect across your organization to strengthen professional and personal networks and build that social capital in the organization, whether you're engaging in a dogs community or whether you're talking one-on-one or engaging with a leader on a Storyline post. They all build the networks that are crucial to running our companies. And importantly, for what we're talking about today, Viva Engage is designed to help people connect and crowdsource knowledge, answers, and ideas across those silos, across working groups, to harness expertise, to even find new experts, to amplify best practices, and of course, accelerate learning and innovation. And now I'm going to pass over to Erin to tell you a bit about Answers and where it fits in here as well.
All right, let me see if I can take control. I know.
Didn't work
it doesn't
this
seem
morning.
like it. No, so I might need you to do the slides.
I'll try and guess better today.
Yeah, Yeah, I don't know. Something about our different Teams clients is making this challenging. Hi, everyone. I'm Erin Rosenthal. I'm the GPM here at Microsoft on Answers, and I'm excited to be here to share about what we've been doing for Answers, how we've brought it more deeply integrated into Engage, and kind of what we're doing, how we're thinking about knowledge in the workplace. So yeah, I'll just dive in. In the last slide, James kind of ended by talking about knowledge and connecting and contributing knowledge and collecting, kind of getting that tacit knowledge. And as we think about answers and think about this challenge in front of us, I want to share some of these challenges that we see as we look at knowledge across organizations. We know that employees spend a lot of time trying to get answers to their questions, and that time's pretty disruptive. It takes time away from their day-to-day work, and then work ends up going on pause until they get the answer that they're looking for. So yeah, we're building a tool with answers that helps people to spend less time seeking knowledge, hopefully, by either accessing existing questions and answers if it's already been answered, or asking and getting it in front of an expert really quickly. But we also know knowledge is constantly changing, especially when it comes to innovation. Like it's fascinating to look inside of Microsoft, the sorts of questions that are coming up day in and day out about how to best use Copilot, how to train people on Copilot, or how to teach people about the opportunities here in the age of AI. And we recognize that it really takes a dynamic crowdsourced tool to capture this tacit knowledge and keep it up to date. But then on top of that, there's challenges of, can I trust this? Crowdsourced knowledge gets you pretty far, but sometimes you need to know that, this is official knowledge. So this is an area we're looking at more. Would love to hear more feedback from you. But we do see that Answers with the ability to mark best answer is a really great place to start collecting these trusted sources of knowledge, and that we'll be feeding this all into AI so that Copilot knows this trusted knowledge and can hopefully provide accurate answers based on the information it's getting from Engage and Answers. And then but we also know that all of this is no good if people don't know where to find it. So we're bringing answers or the content available in Answers into more places so that employees will be able to find it in search, like they would find any other piece of information. So we'll share a little bit more about that later. Yeah, and as I was talking about with AI, one of the things that we're all facing right now with AI is, we have all these warnings all over the UI, frankly, that say it could be incorrect. And that we guide people to check it for accuracy, that Copilot can make mistakes. This is from our own guide to how to roll out Copilot in your organization and things to keep in mind. So, we recognize that we can help here by building a more accurate and up-to-date corpus of knowledge that then feeds into Copilot. And we'll share more about that later. All right. So with that in mind, what is Answers in Viva? Answers is a new capability. It's actually been out for about a year now in Engage that enables employees to have a single place to go to ask questions and get answers to their questions. What we do is we help people find the existing answer to their question through our LLM-based search. So when they hop into the app, they can just start typing. We'll show them if a related question has already been asked and hopefully answered. And this helps reduce duplicate questions being asked or helps them get the answer to the question immediately. And they don't even have to ask it in the first place, right? So this is a really powerful LLM, large language model. For those who don't know, I hate acronyms personally. And what that means is that we're not just looking at the specific words that the user is asking this question. We actually look at the intention and meaning behind it and try to find questions with the same meaning, so that even if they used a different word or used an acronym, we can still try to get that answer in front of them in these related questions so that they can get the answer to their question more efficiently. For those new questions, though, we have a bunch of superpowers that we've created for routing questions to people. Part of this relies on topics, which we still have in Answers. And part of this is also just, getting things in front of subject matter experts, whether they're in the communities or in the Answers tab in Engage, so that they can quickly see these questions that are most relevant to them, hop in and answer and help each other out across the organization. From there, everyone can take a look at the different answers, chime in with their own answers, and vote, crowdsource this knowledge to try to work out these problems themselves and figure out what is the best answer to the question. Yeah, so that people can weigh in on what that best answer is and share their different perspectives and opinions. Actually, that's one of the really fascinating things with answers is it allows people to share perspectives, which is one of the things that I think we're missing in the age of AI is recognizing that we all have different experiences and are coming, yeah, it's a great place to be able to share that. And from there, yeah, we can mark best answer. That then gets indexed in the backend systems and shows up in things like search. And we'll go into Copilot, talk about that. And you can add topics to route these questions to the best applicable expert that we have or subject matter expert in the organization, and to help organize and categorize the information to make it easier to find later. Also, it's a great way of adding context to the question so that, yeah, people can know where this might apply and where maybe it doesn't. And then in the past year, what we've been focusing on is bringing answers more deeply integrated into Engage. When we started with answers, it was a little bit more of a sidecar on Engage. It was a separate place to go and ask and answer questions, but we heard immediately from our customers, look, we already have these flows, and we'll talk about them a little bit more, but we already have some of these communities. How do I tap into the knowledge that's already there and the habit that's already there, rather than starting up something completely new? And so just last month, right around a month ago, we officially GA'd to 100% all of the answers and communities functionality. So this brings the answers functionality to all Viva licensed users in your communities whenever they ask a question. So really cool stuff that happens here is now every question from these premium licensed users, these Viva licensed users, I should say, go into the answers tab so that subject matter experts can review them and answer them and chime in, or anyone who really wants to help across the organization can do that there as well. It's a really great way to see what's happening across the communities that you're a member of. And then now the related questions that we're showing here in this screenshot are including existing content from communities. So if you've had these communities around for years and have been building up a wealth of information, the search here for related questions will look and see if there's already an existing question. So you don't have to just build up a whole new repository starting as soon as you roll out answers. It's already there. You don't have to do anything. It's really amazing. Then question post type, we've also tried to make it easy for your users because we recognize that not everyone has given a license to every single employee in their organization. And that creates a bit of a management overhead of like trying to say, well, you're seeing this version and you're seeing that version. So we've gone ahead and brought the question title into all posts for all users so that they can easily separate out that question, have that moment of reflecting of what is it I'm really trying to ask, so that even unlicensed users have a similar experience. They're just not getting the related questions, and those Viva licensed users will get those related questions and all those other superpowers of those questions showing up in the answers tab. And as part of Engage, all of this fits into the existing flows that your existing highly engaged users have of things like looking at their inbox to stay on top of conversations and seeing when there's updates and seeing when someone's added a new reply, and showing up in the notification bell as well. So they know when they get, an answer has been upvoted. So all of this just flows in with the existing habits that people already have, which is really fabulous. We've also done a couple things to unify our topic picking experience across both answers and Engage. So now seamlessly across the whole experience, you get the same topic picker, same interface, so that makes things easier for people. And then we recognize that not everyone even knows this question post type exists, and they're kind of missing out if they don't know about it. So we're starting to experiment with identifying when we see someone asking a question in the default post type in just a plain normal post, and then saying, hey, actually, you'd benefit from doing this as a question, and help them do that as well, so that you're capturing all this knowledge and hopefully, again, reducing that duplicate question. So this is a smattering of all of the great things that we've been building in answers that, we hope you try if you haven't already, and let us know what you think. All right, back over to you, James.
Thank you, Erin. I already knew, as this is the APAC webinar, that we'd have lots of questions. I'm just going to give pause because quite a few of them are going to answer as we go through the next couple of sessions. But then we'll take a stop, and Rebecca, Michael, a number of you have asked some really good ones. We'll come in and answer those in just a few minutes. But first, I'd like to hand over to RJ, who's going to walk you through answers in communities.
Yeah. Hi, my name's RJ. I'm an EM in the Answers group, and we've been building the ability to bring Answers powers into communities. Um, we can go to the next slide, James. I think before we built Answers, organizations frequently used communities to give their organization a place to ask questions and get them answered. And from the time that we built Answers, many customers have asked how we can connect the features of Answers with that existing knowledge base and that habit that their users have built in communities. And Answers in Communities is meant to bring those capabilities of Answers into your existing communities. Some considerations we had during development included making this as seamless and frictionless as we can. So licensing your users for Answers will instantly bring these features to their engaged communities. No extra actions are required from the user or from the admin. It should just work. And both new questions that they might ask and existing questions in those communities get included in that experience. And so you can instantly tap into that routing and related questions and other features of Answers. We've built it so that it will work across all of your public communities as well as any private communities where that user is a member. We filter things in the same way we do in other places in Engage. So you don't have to worry about having access to things that you might not. And the content you do have access to will be included and will show up for you. And then, we saw some of the capabilities of Answers earlier, Erin talked about, and now all of these can sit within your communities. So communities provide this familiar space for users where their audience is really clear and they've already built these relationships of trust and expertise. And bringing Answers capabilities to help route questions to the right experts and reduce duplicated questions asked will further enhance the usefulness of these communities and enable users to quickly get their questions asked with confidence and with safety, and even help save them time in the process. And I think we wanted to shortly demo a little. So here is a community we have that's centered around Copilot adoption. And let's say I want to know some more about prompting. So I'm going to come ask a question about prompting. And you'll see that related questions will pop up. And these questions may be from this community, but they may also be from any public community or other private communities where I am a member. And we can see here there's a question that looks pretty similar to the one I was about to ask. So let's go see if that has a good answer I might rely on. This one has been answered. And in fact, the admin has marked it as a best answer. So we can trust that this one someone has looked at and says, this is the right thing. I might upvote that or heart it or something else to say thank you for giving me this quickly. And now I don't even have to ask a question. I can follow the link. I can get the answer I wanted. And then let's say I have a different question. Say I have a sales question, perhaps. So we'll navigate over to a community I think might be a good fit and ask my question here. It looks like maybe this first one about getting effective feedback could be good. The second one might also be good. Let's try the second one, I think. This one again has been marked, and here there's more of a discussion, so we can see that other people have chimed in with their thoughts and their ideas, and I can read back through that if I want some context or some help understanding how we got to this answer. That's all recorded here for me to use. But again, this has been answered, and so it's possible I don't even need to ask a question today. I just can get the answer that I need, save some time, and move on. Along the way, as you participate in Answers, you'll find that things you do sort of earn you these points that accrue towards a badging system that we have. And so for a given user, you can go look at their badges and see if they're someone who asks a lot of questions, if they're someone whose questions get a lot of attention or upvoting, if they answer a lot of questions, if a lot of their answers might be selected as best answers. And I think that can help you see, whether people are active, whether they pay attention to things. That can help build trust. Seeing that their answers are marked as best answers and reused can help build that trust. And so being able to trust the answers that you get comes along with these badges. And it also gives you a way to kind of, encourage people to participate, right? Just by coming and asking questions, I can earn a badge. And so I'm contributing knowledge. I'm helping other people reduce the questions they have to ask. And we try to reward you for any of those behaviors. Last thing, I think you'll see that we have kind of network level analytics available for answers. And these metrics are meant to kind of help admins see the health of answers across their network, but also kind of gather some data about whether time is being saved, how much time is being saved, whether people are using answers, are they getting questions asked and not enough answers, are they getting answers quickly? We try to give you enough data here to make good decisions about how this is being used and who might benefit from it. And that can be really useful for you in determining, what is the value Answers is bringing to your org? What's the benefit that you're seeing in your own organization for this? So you get your own metrics. And I think that's the end of our demo, but I'll hand it back over to James.
Thank you, Ajay. That was awesome. It's been really exciting seeing answers in communities, even internally at Microsoft. I know that some of our colleagues that are on the call today, on the webinar today, have seen the impact of it in our own community that we use for anyone to come and ask the Viva Engage team for questions about Viva Engage. And it means that those questions that people always get asked are now kind of automated. So myself and my colleagues don't have to answer the same question over and over again. We can spend more time on our and focus on those kind of more nuanced questions, those ones that haven't been asked before. And we're seeing a lot of impact from those. But another question we get or we received from our early customers was, well, how can I get some content into answers as opposed to doing it question by question? And Pooja is now going to walk us through where we have built the Answers Intelligent Uploader.
Hello, everyone. Hi, I'm Pooja. I'm one of the EMs on Answers team. And thanks, James. What is Answers Intelligent Importer? As we say, right, that Answers is a platform, and now it's available in communities where we can go and have knowledge share with Q&A pairs. But most of the knowledge also exists in FAQ type of documents that lie on SharePoint sites or local repositories, which has a lot of valuable content that SMEs or experts would like to bring it to the table and get it in the form of Q&A pairs so that they don't have to constantly get to the same answers or answering similar questions on and on within their community folks. For that exact reason, we built Intelligent Importer in Answers. What does this do is it takes the document and tries to collect the content of that document with the use of generative AI, extracts Q&A pairs out of the content. The type of documents we support today include Word, PDF, and text. Once these Q&A pairs are extracted, the user who's initiated the flow can actually edit, view the question, make some changes, delete, and finally select all or a subset of the generated Q&A pairs and publish it into the community. With that, the moment it gets published, the content is available for consuming to all the users as part of that community. And this feature could also be used very soon through Answers tab, where it can be exposed to a broader set of network-related folks. We are soon getting this feature to GA in the month of April. And now James is walking us through a quick demo on how this works. Here we have our Copilot adoption community. There's a Word doc that our IT have created for the top 10 questions that users frequently ask about Copilot. So on the right rail, we click on the Intelligent Importer. This is the entry point. Here we upload the document that we have, select it. Once the document is selected, this is how it looks, the preview. Once it selects, off it goes and starts working. As I mentioned, today LLM is used, that is the generative AI is used to actually extract that content. We are extracting text-based content for now. All of those is accumulated in the form of a Q&A pair that makes sense. Once these are generated, it starts to look up in this review mode. Here, there are a couple of actions that the user can take. Either they can view their question of how it would look once it gets posted. So a question looks like this. A best answer is the answer that gets formed for it. Then we go back, we can edit it. If I feel like I want to add some more information, add description or any supportive links or documentation to this Q&A pair, I can do that. and hit save. Those changes will get saved, and I can go back into the review screen, go and make some similar changes to all the questions over here. As I mentioned, this is AI generated from the content that we have in the document. So we want the users to be reviewing this content because in order for us to ensure that it's right and accurate. Once we've reviewed, looks good, I can select, multi-select all the questions over here and hit post, or I can pick and choose and then post the selective ones. The ones that I select and post, they get immediately into the community and available for everyone else to see. The ones that I don't pick from the selection are saved in the form of drafts that are accessible to the user who initiates it and can go and get back to them later and post it at their own convenience. So this is how it starts to show. Once these questions are posted and published, there is a source file link on the right side. There's a file icon for each and every generated Q&A pair through this flow, which actually connects the source file that was used to generate this content. And this Q&A pairs, as well as the whole UI, is accessible for everyone to contribute and start interacting with.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Pooja. I'm sure everyone on the call can think of a department at work that builds huge FAQs, and then you're sent to the document and you have to search through and find what you're looking for. How much better is it to be able to get these uploaded into a system that you can find them easily, you can add commentary, there can be a conversation around them, you can see which is the official marked, like the marked best answer one, but in particular things like HR, maybe IT. I saw there was a question from you, Colin, about the IT service desks and things like that. And we'll get to that a bit later. But, all of us experience a lot of information, and this is making it a way that's much more accessible, much more in the flow of your work as well. And speaking of flow in your work, that is what else we are focused on as well. And so coming later this month, we will have answers content in Microsoft Search. So what does that mean? You'll see on the image here, we're in the office.com search. We've typed in a question, how long does it take to learn PHP? And you'll see that before the scroll line, we're seeing content from answers. So we're surfacing this, and it's not just office.com, it'd be sharepoint.com, Bing at work as well. And we're going to bring answers content will be surfaced there for you. If you don't see the question and the content that you're looking for, we're actually going to nudge users to actually post their question in answers. So again, we're starting to build these loops across Microsoft 365. So this complements what we already have in Outlook, for example. We have the digest emails where you can engage within Outlook as well. We have community content can pull into the SharePoint web parts, into Viva Connections as well. And so all these ways, along with the Viva Engage apps, both the standalone web and mobile apps and the Teams app as well, allow your users to actually access this knowledge across the suite. And as Erin will show later, we'll be integrating into even more surfaces. Now, I think this would be a great point for me to give a pause and just see which questions we have. Has anyone on the team seen ones that they'd like to take, or should we pick some? Maybe we could start with Rebecca asked, is there any expert routing for questions?
Realize I should answer that. Yeah. Sorry, I was too busy answering other questions in the Q&A. Yeah, is there expert routing? The way we look at expert routing is mainly looking at that questions for you feed in the answers tab and putting questions in there that we think you are particularly suited to answer. The way we determine that is by what topics you follow, what topics the question was tagged with when it was created. And we even have things to auto-suggest topics at tagging time, at creation time, to make it much easier to get that right in the first place so people can, put it in the right place. And then, and also based on how else you interact and engage. Like, what sort of things do you do in Engage? So we take all of those signals and then craft that questions for you feed based on all of this and put the questions in front of you. So that's what we're doing for question routing. With that, we also have a digest email that goes out for these questions you follow so that you can see and stay on top of these questions on a daily basis. So you can easily, you won't miss it if you didn't go to Engage or Answers that day. And then we're working also on making it easy to subscribe to those topics if you're like an SME, so that you can get immediate notifications. And these would be notifications in Teams to stay on top of any new question. So if like it's part of your job to answer all the questions with a specific topic tag to it, you can easily stay on top of that in the flow of work. And they'll also show up for you in the questions for you feed, which James is helpfully showing here.
Well, so let's say you don't have topics, though. Are there other clues? Are you using information from the Microsoft Graph? Like, is there any subject knowledge expertise that's playing into this?
When I say topics, you don't need Viva Topics. And Viva Topics,
okay.
as we've already announced, is being retired. But we have a long history of topics in Engage and Yammer, right? So topics have been around for a long time. And actually part of why we became such good partners with the Viva Topics team was because we already had this wealth of topics that existed in Engage. And so now we're stopping migrating them over to Viva Topics and getting everyone back on topics on Engage, but we will continue having topics. So there's an entire infrastructure here for following topics, creating topics, adding topics to conversations, and topics are required when you're asking a question from the Answers tab in order to facilitate getting it in front of the most likely people to answer.
Okay, so like topics here doesn't mean Viva
Viva
topics, like you
topics.
said. It means like quote unquote tags or keywords or something.
Right,
So
exactly.
just-
It's
okay.
these topics that you're seeing here, like strategy and business writing and Python code. Like those are the sort of topics, and even in the right-hand rail, the topics to follow. So these are the types of topics that can exist right now. If you are a Viva Topics licensed customer, they are one and the same. If you're not Viva Topics licensed and you're Viva Suite or CNC licensed, or you just didn't deploy Viva Topics, you should be all set with a simpler topics database, more similar to what you had in Engage in the past.
Could you see the system at all, similar to how you can bring in those questions and answers from FAQs?
Not right now, but again, we do when we are auto suggesting topics to add to the conversation. If the topic doesn't exist, we suggest you create it. So it kind of auto seeds as people add information to your organization. Or you can just go and create the topics for the ones you know are most important. But yeah, it'd be great to know more about how you might want to seed topics so that we can figure out how we can make it better and easier for you.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, I was thinking about experts related to the topics, but yes.
Great.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
Yeah, would love to chat with you more about that because that's definitely something we're looking into more.
I have a few more interesting questions here. Michelle is asking, when you import Q&As to a community, will they be discoverable outside of that community?
And yeah, I mean, I can chime in if someone else wants to.
I can chime in as well.
Go for it. Yeah.
I mentioned this on Michelle's thread as well, but if it's a public community, yes, absolutely. It will show up on feeds on the similar question module on answers as well. You're trying to ask something related. So yes.
If it was a private community, and let's say I'm not part of the community, and I go into the global answer tab and ask a similar question, will those questions pair show up for me?
No, we will absolutely be
okay.
respecting the context in which the questions were posted. So if it was posted in a private community, we'll absolutely be respecting those settings, and these questions will not show up on the answers tab if you don't have access to this private community itself.
Perfect. Thank you.
And maybe just one last question, which I saw you, RJ and Erin, you answered in the Q&A, but it's one that I wanted to know the answer to actually. Is there any limit to how far back answers can look? I take it, Isabel, you're meaning going through before answers through all your communities and looking at all the question posts that were there. I'd be really interested to know how long you've had your network to ask a question such as that. RJ, would you like to take this one?
Sure, I can start. We don't have a hard time limit we enforce. So once you've turned this on, if it's a question and it's in Engage, we will be able to use it. As Trish already mentioned, we do respect all of the private and public communities and restrictions on access, that you would normally have, but we don't limit a certain number of days or years or months back in time. If it's in there, we try to use it to help you find your right answers.
Thank you. Maybe just one last one, because I saw it just pop in the top there. This might be for you, Trishati. Once you've imported a Word doc, can you just delete the file, or do you have to keep it in SharePoint Online once it's been imported?
So right now, what happens is once you import the file, as the demo showed, we are showing the source file, and it's linked to the Q&A pair that's generated. So every user that consumes this question and answer pair can also see what source it was generated from. They can go and check out this source document. If something looks outdated, if something doesn't look accurate, they are able to then come back and flag that on the thread itself. So we are linking the source document to the conversation. Can it be deleted? Yes, it can be deleted, but it's not something we'd recommend users do, only because it is, like I said, linked to the Q&A pairs, and it's important for the context of that entire conversation for those for that source document to be available to those that are consuming it.
Excellent, thank you. And now we'd like to switch a bit and talk about some of the findings we've had in the data from our year of answers in Viva so far. So I'm going to hand over to Sid.
Thank you, James. Thank you so much. And I'm Sid. I'm a data scientist working with this amazing team. We have a lot of data already available in your Answers Analytics dashboard. These are some new data points which we wanted to show you to show essentially the value of answers at work. So one of the key questions which we get asked all the time is like, how can I avoid, essentially duplicate questions, like questions which have already been answered? We did an analysis of that, and like we found for our top customers or top networks, 45% of times they already found the questions answered through the related questions link right now, what we are seeing since 1 year of launch of answers. Similarly, one of the other key questions which we get asked is like, how quickly do you get question answered? So for this, we have a range, like because we didn't want to specifically say about what is the value for one specific customer. Like the range is between 3 to 10 hours. For Microsoft, the average for that is approximately 5 hours compared to the 3 to 10 hours we are seeing for our top customers. And similarly, for the number of percentage of questions which are answered to related questions, it's 51% for Microsoft. But of course, Microsoft has had this for a very, very long time. So we have a lot more users who know about the answers flow and are using it very regularly. But this goes to show that our top customers are also understanding and using the answers flow very effectively overall. Yeah, Erin, go ahead.
Yeah, since this has come up a couple of times in the Q&A, can you share more about how we calculate time saved?
Yes, I'm working with the PM responsible for that, and I'll share like what we have on that.
Okay.
I don't know about people on the call, but as I said earlier, we use this in a very particular community inside Microsoft, where we're helping everyone understand how Viva Engage works, how to help customers get the most from the tool and adopt the tool, and to know that up to half of the questions that people have are now being answered because they're already in the system. And of course, it takes a little while to get all that content in. Means it just feels really good that people are getting an answer quicker. They're not having to wait on me or someone else to go through and provide them that answer. I'm able to focus my time on those more tricky questions, the sticky questions that people have, and that maybe requires more of us to come and provide that solution. So this the impact is really powerful in the customers that we currently work with. And now I'm going to pass it over to Erin to talk about all the good stuff that we also have coming down the line.
All right, and I'll finish answering this one question in the chat. So I just saved the link to global time saved from our public documentation, which is, I think we say, the total shows question answer pair saves about 15 minutes a time. So we look at this roughly 15 minutes a time and the number of viewers in order to calculate time saved. So that's part of how we come up with this equation. I think there's refinement to it, but that's the high level. So I just wanted to share that since I was just putting it in the Q&A. All right. Where are we going next? And I think some of you have already asked about this. Like we shared that the rich content that you're building, these questions are going into global search, workplace search, so that people can find it at their fingertips, which is awesome. But we know from there, there's somebody else who could use it, which is Copilot. So as part of indexing this content into search, it's also getting prepared to go into Copilot. So then from there, Copilot can do a couple things with it. It can either reference it as reference material if it's helping to inform the answer that it's providing, or it can just provide it as the answer, just like search would, if it fully answers the question. So this is coming soon. We're working on this as part of the search integration. That was really the first step. So we'll hope to share more as this comes to light, and we can share some timelines about when this will happen. So originally we're aiming for the rest of the year, but hopefully sooner. And then I think someone else asked this as well. You guys are on top of it. What about the other way? What about, like we're doing in search, you can, if it's not giving you a good result, you can ask the question from there. We want to do the same thing from Copilot as well. And there's a couple different reasons. Like one is if Copilot hits what we call a dead end, you're just not getting an answer you like. Yeah, we want you to go post it in answers. And then we can try to find that answer and crowdsource it from across your organization. And the other thing here is that, sometimes you're just not sure. When you're asking a question, you're sometimes not in that position to be able to know, is this right? Is this still the latest thing? And so it's really useful to loop in an expert, to run it by an expert. And with that, you can also, do the same thing, post it in answers, and we'll loop in the expert to give you that feedback. So again, this, hoping to have this by the end of this calendar year. So look forward to that. And if you're already in VCCP, we'd love to get feedback along the way, or even if you're not, we'd love to get feedback along the way as we build these things out. I think that's it from me.
Thank you. Excellent. I know that we've actually answered a lot of the questions in the chat or in the Q&A, but I'd love to invite anyone who's on the call to either type in another question or turn on your video, or at least turn on your audio if you want to jump in with the question. You're most welcome to. I see there's, just having a look through some of the questions here. We have a new one. Is there or will there be an API for other systems to access answers? Is there someone on the team who could respond to that one?
Christina, are you there?
I am, but you're going to have to repeat the question. Sorry, James.
That's okay. Is there right now, or will there be an API for other systems to access answers?
I hope so. So we are doing work on MS Graph APIs for content import, but also they're going to be CRUD, so both ways, which I think will be a very exciting development in terms of integrating with other experiences, both in M365 and your third-party tools within your own ecosystem with answers. So if you have a different type of search experience in Microsoft Search and you want to pull questions and answers from answers into that experience, you can do that. Or if you want to continue to keep that metadata from a third-party tool that you might have Q&As in, like the threaded conversations and not just question and answer pairs, that will give you the ability to sort of import those questions and answers and with richer metadata into the tool. And that's not something that the intelligent importer is capable of right now, especially to that level of granularity, because we're using LLMs to create those questions and answers, and we have to have that person really sort of commit to what they're posting, not being able to post on behalf of in those types of scenarios. So we see a real value for MS Graph APIs in the future. And if you like that, please let us know in the chat and tell me all the reasons why, so I can continue to push that along.
Yeah, that would help
please.
us a ton to know what you want from APIs so that we can get that work prioritized appropriately.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you, Christina. We have a question from Isabel, which is, can you add experts retrospectively, and would they have visibility to all answers for their review or manage ongoing? Is that to do
super
with the
interesting.
importer, or is
Well,
that in general?
I don't know. I'm hearing that in general. I think that's a super interesting case, actually. Here's my answer for this. We don't have experts yet, but anyone can go and follow something, right? So if a topic exists, you go and follow that topic, and you can go and look. If you're an Engage admin, or sorry, an Answers admin, you can go and mark best answer on any of those global questions being asked, and that's a great way of validating and verifying that content, and you just have that power. So you can always just go to the topic page, review what's there, look at the most recent stuff, change the sort, whatever, and stay on top of it. But you do highlight that this is actually a really important flow, and I really appreciate you sharing this to us. As we look at how do we keep content up to date, to consider this. This content has existed before, and there was no expert in this area. So how do we make sure that the stuff that was there before is accurate? That's a really great point. And so thanks for sharing that, Isabel.
Excellent. Dave asks, I can't see how you add topics for people to follow. Any advice? Maybe I should show this instead.
Might be better to show it. I was about to write an answer, and then
I was too.
Let's start. So say we want to ask a question. I'm going to take one. So how do I get a staff discount? Say we're in a retail organization, or we've got a lot of frontline workers or something like that. We want to save our managers some time. It would help if I could type this right now. And there's some, but let's say there's not one. So I'm just going to say, where do I find them? Of course, I hope your employees ask better questions. I mean, you'll see that we're suggesting some topics to add here. Or I can pick one and I can add myself. So let's say I want one that's already used. I'm going to pick restaurants for now. I'm going to ask it, and the question is here. So the question's being posted. If another user starts to follow the topic, you'll see we have restaurants here. Apologies, I should have picked a better example. Then when they go to questions for you, questions with this topic will start to appear for them. So Dave, is that what you are asking? Sorry, putting you on the spot a bit. You can put it in the chat if you don't want to turn your audio on.
Okay. No, it's fine. It's fine. I was just when I went to topics to follow, where it's in that box is currently empty for us, and I click on discover more topics. It said there's no topics for you to discover across your tenancy, but we have added into that topics box at the bottom of a question before. So I was just wondering whether I just thought maybe I need to manually add them in the back end somewhere or something.
This is a really great observation, because there is a slight difference in that browse page. Those are what we call curated topics or featured topics, or topics that have been used within answers. So something that is coming and not there yet is the sort of addition of the topics that are being created outside of answers into that browse experience. But that's a very astute catch, and something that is on the roadmap to, I would say, fix rather than expand.
Cool. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, Dave. What else do we have in here? Lindsay, now I'm intrigued by this. I'm about to kick off our first pilot for Engage and Answers. Of course, everyone from Microsoft on the call today would be most happy to help you if we can do. If you would like to reach out, we could definitely have a call. But you had a question around, have you had any customers export conversations from Teams channels and import them into Answers as a starting point? I've got to admit, this is the first time I've heard this one. Erin, RJ, Pooja, Christina, have you heard this one before?
Actually, have you tried this? Super interesting for a importer question, right? Where we can identify.
No, this is a really interesting question and an interesting scenario. So far in our conversations with both internal and external customers, exporting conversations from Teams channels hasn't really come up. But I see what you mean by using that as a starting point instead of starting from scratch. Right now, that process would be pretty manual, where you'd have to, create a document from those Teams channels, conversations, and then once you have that document, you can then import it through the importer into answers. So it's not as seamless as we'd like it to be, but yeah, an interesting scenario for sure. We'll think about as part of our next iteration for the intelligent importer. We are looking into how do we expand it to include more sources. So things that we have heard about from customers are existing SharePoint files, existing SharePoint sites. The Teams channels thing has not come up so far, but we'll take it into consideration as we figure out next steps for this feature.
Give it a try. See what it does.
Yeah, and I think if I could just add some more color there, that
Please.
you could use that for good and evil too, right? Like
Yeah,
you
of
don't want
course.
to open up a general capability for people to ingest conversations that people thought were private or whatever else. So you want to, I don't know if you want like a general feature for that, but in my case specifically, we had people that were creating, I can think of like just a handful in our tenant, where they created these forum type of channels where they're literally all they're doing is Q&A. So for that, I might run my Power Automate script, scrape it, the conversations for the last maybe 6 months, because beyond that, maybe it's not as relevant. And so when I kick off the pilot, they're coming in with some of this stuff preloaded and can really test out the features. I just feel like it might be a good way for them to fully get the full experience and, kind of see how they might maintain it. I don't know.
Yeah.
I can keep you posted, but just curious.
That's a pretty
Please
cool
keep us
scenario. Yeah.
posted. Kirsty, I noticed you said you've been asked this as well. I don't know if you're still on the call, but yeah, we'd love to hear from
I'm
both
here.
of you how this.
Yeah, I have been asked it because recently there was a smaller organisation that didn't have Viva Engage, but they've been growing pretty fast. So they did have that whole Q&A scenario inside Teams, and I think one of the things that I had brought up with them, it would be a bit of a compliance piece as well, because you don't want people just to be able to anyone just to be able to go and export a ton of information out of Microsoft Teams. So there's that governance piece that comes around it. It may be better that it's a component inside Viva Engage where it would allow you to, in the kind of the back end, do an export import over that then could actually be managed, and it's not something that's kind of sits with the end user, because that raises a lot of red flags for me, and I've spoken with organizations around it, and I have given them that kind of manual process of bringing the information over where they need to. I know it's pretty clunky, and it kind of negates the because you've still got an end user doing it rather than a technical process. But I can imagine it's not quite as simple as what it sounds, knowing how the system and ecosystem as an MVP works. But it'd be good to have a bit of an idea of some of the complexities, I suppose.
Excellent. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. Now, you always got deep insights on this, so we appreciate the feedback as well. And I notice as we're getting near to the top of the hour, I think it's probably time that we wrap up. I knew this group would have a lot of questions. I think we've answered them. I really apologize if we haven't. Please reach out to me if we haven't answered your question, and I'll make sure that we get you an answer. Just to share that a lot of these capabilities that we shared. I see Dave, you raising your hand for
Sorry,
a quick
classic.
question.
I was going for a reaction and went for the raised hand. You guys separated the two out, and I keep going back to my old ways.
No, I do the same frequently, so no problem. But I wanted to share that a lot of customers have had access to answers in communities and importer as well, and search early as part of the Viva Customer Connection program. So we run a kind of ongoing channel within the Viva Customer Connection program that we basically feed all our new capabilities to our preview customers before they go to general availability. So if you would like to experience that, to give us early feedback, to have early influence over some of the features as we build them, please see the link there. I will put it in the chat as soon as we're finished. Sign up for VCCP. I'll put my email address if you want to just contact me, and I can help you get set up. But we'd love to work with you, especially as you've had so many good questions about answers today. Similarly, if you'd like to experience all of the premium or the Viva capabilities of Viva Engage, there are two ways you can do that without having to buy the licenses first. The first is a full tenant trial for all your users. This is for all the Viva capabilities of Viva Engage. For 60 days, you can sign up. We turn it on for all your users and you can experience answers, Ask Me Anything's campaigns, all the analytics and all the leadership capabilities like Leadership Corner as well. Or you can self-serve for up to 50 users in your organization. Again, it's a 50-day trial, 60-day trial. And finally, this webinar recording will be up on the Viva Engage Adoption Center. If it's not a place you visited yet, I strongly recommend you go take a look because we have a phenomenal amount of resources on everything Viva Engage, from how to get leaders on board to how to run campaigns, and of course, content on answers as well. And I think that all that is left for me is to thank you all very much for coming, to Nick and Michelle and team for making sure the word got out for this webinar as well. And of course, thank you to Erin, Sid, RJ, Trishati, Christina, and Pooja for presenting. And just wish you all a very good evening or a good rest of your day. Take care, everyone.